Peace and love, you guys. Salute everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I thought I'd come by and share, oh my goodness, my thoughts about what we all saw last evening with the Tyson and Paul, I guess you could say fight. I don't know what that was, sparring session, goddamn, I don't know what to call it. But I figured I'd give some thoughts because, of course, I did pull away some things upon watching the exchange last night. First of all, I guess I could say, salute to the GOAT Mike for keeping pace as a 60-year-old man against a 20-something-year-old clout-chasing thirst bucket in Jake Paul. That's first off, okay? So he made it through, okay? Mike made it, okay? He, of course, went the distance with Paul, as we know, and honestly, that's exactly what I was hoping to see because Lord knows I did not want to hear a damn thing or see a peep of Tyson touching anybody's canvas or, being shaken up in some type of devastating way. Y'all know I wasn't about that. So I was glad that he finished on his feet. Now, Paul got the unanimous decision for this fight. But I'm left wondering after seeing it, basically what the aim was. What was the purpose? Real talk, I have a lot of questions. Just as a whole, after seeing this, what was the aim, right? So as I mentioned in yesterday's commentary, Paul's objective to me, right, upon my own analysis and observation, was strictly and centrally ego-based, okay? He thought that he could hijack the name and cred of a legend, right? And he also thought that because of Mike's senior age, that he can get him out of there. I'm sure that he was proposing that to himself in his own mind. I'm going to be able to get him out of there and I'm going to be able to ride that coattail. But that didn't happen. He did not get Mike out of there. So I'm left wondering, now what? Because essentially, he's really made kind of an ass of himself. Speaking of ass, that I will touch upon in just a second. But yeah, real talk, it was nothing to measure Jake by. There was no credence gained, in my view, from Paul. What was the point? Now what, Mr. Damn Jake Paul, right? Now, remember yesterday when I said either way, he's going to basically make a mark of himself, fool of himself? Well, it's actually looking worse than that for Paul. Because not only did he attempt to ride the coattails of a GOAT, but a GOAT who is a damn senior, but he also couldn't manage to damage a senior. Not that I wanted him to or anything like that, because y'all already know where I stand as far as this fight overall is concerned. But, if you're going to get in there, do some work. Like, where's your weight at? You couldn't really do anything with Mike, who was pretty much, had cement on his feet the entire time. That man's feet was planted to that damn canvas pretty much that second half of that bout. He wasn't even barely moving, The only thing in my view that seemed to be kicking Tyson's ass in real time was fatigue and father time. That's what was kicking Mike Tyson's ass. Paul, he landed some good shots, definitely had some moments and stuff like that, seemed to have stumbled at least Mike off balance at a particular moment. But the 60-year-old basically rode the wave and he made it through. Knee problems and all, y'all. The motherfucker survived. Lord have mercy. Who let that man get in that ring with the knee problems, y'all? He had the knee wrap on and everything, probably was laced up with all types of Bengay and a heating pad and child. It's too much. But yes, he survived. And, I just don't want to see Mike in the ring again. Can I not see his ass in the ring again, please? I didn't want to see him in the ring last night. He got in the goddamn ring. Please don't make this a part 2. I don't want to see Mike in the ring again. Okay? And am I tripping? Or did he say that he wants to fight Jake's brother? Was I hearing things, y'all? The man was having trouble getting the damn knee to kick in midway through the fight. He was trying to, the knee just wasn't kickstarting. And now you're talking about fighting the brother? If he don't get out of my face and go make a damn doctor's appointment, I'm through. Please go away, Mike Tyson. Go play golf, sir. You're done. Okay? Have a nice seat in your comfy seat at home and have your wife bake you a pie. The fighting of 27-year-olds is not the route for you. Let the goddamn chips fall where they may. Now, on a serious note, though, y'all, which I hate to even divulge this topic, this aspect of what we saw last evening, but I just have to beg the question, why was Mike's ass out, y'all? Why was this man's whole entire ass out on display, you guys? For real. Like, what the fuck was going on with that? Did I need to see that? Did the world need to be privy to that type of information? Did we really need that particular exposure in that moment? I think that's the reaction that pretty much every sane person had. The fuck? What? What was up? I just found that to be extremely effeminate. What the hell is going on with that bullshit? Your entire ass is out on a national broadcast? The man toted up as the killer, the animal, the impregnable monster. All praise is due to Allah? Nah, son. Nah. Tell me it wasn't so, you guys. I don't know what the deal was with that, but I did not like it at all. Okay? It was wild, it was crazy, and it was definitely uncalled for. I found it extremely emasculating. Extremely emasculating. If you want to walk around, free form, you know what I mean, in your locker room, you can do so. But once the cameras, go in there and you know that you're going to be interviewed, the man should have had a damn towel wrapped around his waist, if you want to, hang free or whatever. If you want to hang free like that, like put a damn towel around your waist. You know what I'm saying? Nobody needs to see your damn ass hanging out like that and shaking like you waiting on somebody to hand you a damn pole or something. What the hell? That was absolutely ridiculous to me. I was not feeling any bit of that. But anyway, real talk, the entire thing basically left me in question about the overall point of Jake Paul and what his exhibitions, moreover, seek to gain. What is being established here? What's the point? I'm even further in question about it now after the fight than I was previous to the particular matchup. So I don't know what's going on with that. Its validity, its stake, in the sport. I don't know. But what I do know is that, the man Jake Paul is not fighting to overcome any particular or significant threat. That is apparent. Okay, that's definitely apparent and has been made quite clear for the past several years. This is not his first time solidifying and creating exhibitions and stuff like that. It's like, what are you ever going to goddamn elevate? Are you ever going to actually fight? Are you ever going to have a challenge? What's going on? Because getting by on fighting somebody's damn grandfather is not going to cut it anymore. You know what I mean? You got up until this point by the grace of the universe that people have been, patronizing your events and stuff like that. You've gotten by this far, but how long is that going to continue where people are signing up to watch something that isn't even a challenge? Fighting a 60-year-old Mike Tyson was a lose-lose situation for Jake Paul as far as I'm concerned. And I touched upon that yesterday when we spoke. You know what I mean? He was never going to acquire a level of respect, in my view, by beating Mike, the senior citizen. Like, simple as that. He looks quite foolish, real talk, in the aftermath of this fight. But I'm glad that Mike, I guess the takeaway is that Mike got his payday from this nonetheless. I'm sure that he's happy about that. The reason why he got his self in the ring to begin with, and the overall card had two standout performances from Barrios and Ramos, as well as the Katie Taylor-Serrano fight. Both were highly intense fights. So those were good. But Paul himself, in my view, ain't worth a damn. Nothing about him has been elevated in any way, whatever. Right? What's been elevated about Paul particularly? Aside from the numbers that I hear that they broke with that particular fight last night being the most bet upon fight. And I believe they did high, crazy ratings, if I'm not mistaken. So, credit to them there. But that's largely because, let's not forget, Tyson holds the hearts of millions in his hands. Okay? No matter what he looked like last night, that man is a legend. He's an international legend and a treasure to the sports world as a whole. Okay, he represents and signifies so much for people across the world. So it makes sense that people far and wide would have tuned in. Now, interesting thing that I came across on Twitter. I came across a post from Andre Ward where he entertained a post that someone had suggested that he be a possible opponent for Jake Paul, right? And Ward responded, "Let's talk about it," right? That's what he said in response to that post. So who knows? Maybe that's something to keep an eye out for in the future. I don't know. What's real is that, Ward is the type of person and the type of pressure that Jake Paul makes certain to avoid at all costs, for the reason why he has not been in the ring ever with any real particular competition, which is understandable, let's say, as far as the early portion of Jake's embarking on these types of exhibitions. It would make sense that he start off slow. But as I mentioned previously, Jake is not new to this. He's been doing this for some time, over the years. So it's like, okay, step up your level of competition. You know what I'm saying? Was Mike Tyson, the 60-year-old, really a step up for you? I mean, outside of his name and his legacy? All that's saying to me is that you straight ass, bro. Tyson's ass. Like, what the hell? Like, on that level. Jake Paul don't want no damn competition with somebody on Andre Ward's level, the SOG? Nah, I doubt that. That man doesn't fight people of high risk to him. That has been made evident, okay? This is the reason, he's all smoke and mirrors to me at this point. It's like, all right, people are just signing up to see you bounce around like a clown. Like, if you made it competition worthy, maybe I can not take you all the way seriously because I know that you're not a fighter, but at least I can respect you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually somebody who loves the sport. So if I see somebody get in the ring, I'm expecting to see an exchange of some type of war, some type of battle. That's what I'm expecting. And, I think that Paul is playing in the ring. He's playing and he's making millions to play in our faces. And I get the fact that people, may enjoy supporting Paul, and, I get that they may get a lighthearted level of entertainment from that. But, boxing to me it's not anything lighthearted. This ain't goddamn Dancing with the Stars. And that's exactly what it feels like. I'm watching when Paul signs up to do an event, like goddamn Dancing with the Stars, like a reality TV show, like Hell's Kitchen or something like that. Like what is going on? And I'm certainly not the only person that feels like this, because people all across social media have been, throwing out names for more competitive opponents for him and prospective opponents. I heard names like Better BF thrown out there, names like Canelo thrown out there for possible opponents for him. So it's definitely evident that people want to see some tit for tat. They want to see some challenge, some tug and pull for him. And so people are now beginning to, think up some names that would be, quite entertaining matchups for him, competitive matchups for him, some aggression, some pushback. You know what I mean? People want to see that. So we'll see if he can rise to the challenge. And if he does not answer the call that fans or, spectators right now seem to be making, then what does that further say about him? It's only going to further solidify my point earlier, which is that it's a clown show and that, he's just in it to play in our faces. He's not somebody that's like, yeah, I'm going to sharpen my little skills. I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to train, and elevate my competition each fight that I have. It's only going to prove that he's just in there to just run amok and get paid millions. Now, moreover, being that the Paul Tyson fight did such huge numbers reportedly, I'm really left wondering also, why the biggest names in our sport, the actual fighters, why they aren't being given this level of attention. And it's got me wondering, is it because people don't want to see actual fights? People don't want to see real competition, real combat. They don't want to see hard work and dedication on display. For those who aren't necessarily boxing fans, did they just show up for the song and dance of it all? Was that what got them to show up in the first place? These are definitely things to consider. But this is precisely the reason why I feel a sense of the sport being hoed out, so to speak. You know what I mean? This is the very thing that makes me feel like there's a hoeing out of the sport via ventures like this and stuff like that. Even though, like I said, I get the lighthearted nature. I get that it draws in a crowd that may not particularly like boxing or things like that. But we also have to look at the flip side of it. And there is kind of a hoeing out aspect to it, which I'm speaking on behalf of who I consider to be the actual fighters within the sport, as we all know, as opposed to somebody like Jake Paul, because in the end, the fighters, the credence of the fighters does get diluted a little bit with these types of charades and antics to the people who are not particularly boxing fans, let's say, and so the overall credibility of boxing as a whole is what I'm trying to bring light to. And I think that's a topic that's been, being had across the board for, the years that Jake has been, doing this, partaking in this and putting on these types of events. I think that's a concern that I've heard boxers speak on. I've heard Tank talk about it in the past and, a number of people with their speculations about it. So it's definitely a valid point and topic. Now, what I also found to be interesting was, coming across a post that Bill Haney made on Twitter calling Jake Paul the face of boxing and pretty much accrediting, the high numbers to validate that particular claim that he made, that he is the face of boxing. I get it, considering the numbers and all that, as we already touched on. But like I said, like what? Face of boxing? This man put no work in. You know what I'm saying? Compared to that of the actual warriors of the sport. So I just find there's a fine line. We got to be careful about that because once again, the credence is hanging in the balance when we, place that type of narrative out there. That man ain't the face of a goddamn thing, but YouTube TV. Okay, let him, that's where he reigns. Okay. Also, can we really consider the audience that tuned in who are not boxing fans as a credible base? I could understand if he's the face of boxing if he captures and converts fans strictly and particularly to the sport. That is not the case, however. How could they be a credible base when they do not keep up with the sport? They can't be attributed as a boxing base, right? So that they can't be claimed as boxing fans if that's the case. They only show up when Jake appears. We cannot call him the face of boxing because those fans are not particularly tied to boxing, that half of his base that does not take interest in the sport. Can we say that such viewers claim a space of audienceship in our sport with that, when we think about it from that angle? To me, the answer is obviously no. The numbers may have looked incredible or astonishing, right? Yes, absolutely. And salute to that success of, hitting those types of numbers and stuff like that. That's great. But much of that viewership is not solid, is not consistent, and therefore it is not a sedentary boxing base. You know what I mean? Because it's only predicated upon the presence of Jake Paul, not the sport. So in this instance, to me, Jake has the advantage of not only leaning on his YouTube/reality TV base or whatever it is that he does, right? Which he has by the droves. He has that following by the droves that go wherever he goes. But Jake can also capitalize on the actual boxing community when he's fighting, let's say, a Mike Tyson or whoever, that's a real fighter that he is hosting on his undercard. So do you see the significance of that? Real boxers cannot pull from Jake Paul in the same aspect. Real boxers can't pull from, that same position. For example, let's say Devin Haney or Tank Davis or Canelo cannot lean on their natural fan base and also Jake Paul's fan base at will. That's not happening. So that the relationship is very one-sided, it's very particular to Jake Paul, where in his case, he's the only one who can benefit from such a position of having his base by the droves or whatever that may be, from whatever, walk of life they are coming from, and also be able to pull on a sedentary boxing community, a concrete boxing community. I can't accredit Jake Paul as the face of boxing, no matter how much he sells, because of this aspect. The fans and the supporters of the fighters within boxing are actual fight fans. And that's regardless of their level of interest, whether they're casual or diehard or whatever it is in between, right? They're there because they take a real interest in the sport itself. Even if they, of course, have their hierarchy and their favorites within the sport, they are, generally speaking, boxing fans, right? Whereas Jake's fans do not have to have an interest in the sport at all in order to tune into his fights. So the dimensions are completely different. Jake's commercial value, extends beyond, boxing. He was a commercial success long before he decided to take up the venture of putting on exhibitions and things like that. So, he's been building his own particular fan base outside of boxing that has nothing to do with boxing for however long that he's been doing it, And I guess you could say the same could possibly, or a similar aspect, one can probably take the position to say, okay, well, that's where, sponsorships come into play for fighters. Maybe they should get more sponsors and stuff like that. Like we saw Jordan with the Wheaties, and we see, all types of fighters with their Gatorade, things, and all types of sponsors that some of them are into fashion. They got fashion brands, behind them and stuff like that, which is fabulous. That may introduce them to a wider audience outside of boxing. All of that is fine and dandy, but the levels are different in the case of Jake Paul and these fighters and stuff like that. So that was an interesting analysis that I made there as far as the differentials, that stand out between Jake's pull in numbers within the sport as opposed to, a fighter's fighter, a real warrior within the sport. Nonetheless, very interesting conversation that I guess will be continued because Jake may do something else in the future. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, so I'm sure that at some point we can anticipate a return back to the ring. Will it be against an actual fighter, somebody that will compete with him, somebody that'll possibly wash the floor with him and stuff like that? That has yet to be seen because that man tiptoes around any type of challenge or what have you. Is he going to pull another 70-year-old from the goddamn, basement of their home? Who knows? Most likely, but either way, it seems that people are willing to put money in this man's pocket to see him do whatever it is that he's going to do, which is also an interesting conversation for us as boxing fans. Do we take a stand against it? Is it something that you guys are okay with? Let me know. But that's it for me, y'all. I'm on to the next. Peace.